Hey everybody, welcome to a brand new chapter of Old Man Brad. Whether you are new to the show or returning for another chapter, thank you so much for giving me a listen. If you love the show, drop me a review over on your favorite podcast app, or you can become a patron at patreon.com/oldmanbrad. So in this chapter, I'm going to break down some of the films I watched as part of Fantastic Fest last week. So Fantastic Fest happened in Austin, Texas last week. It is on my bucket list some year. Hopefully one of these times I can make it out to the festival. But I was lucky enough to be able to cover remotely, so I got screener links for some of the films, not all of the films. And I'm going to kind of give my breakdown of some of those films that I watched. I did quick reviews over on TikTok and Instagram. You can go follow me, Old Man Brad Pod, or just Old Man Brad on Instagram. But I'm going to kind of go through them a little bit more here, as well as talk about some of the films that I didn't get to see that I'm looking forward to checking out at a later date. But before we dig into that, if you're in the Cincinnati area, come out to Frightful Fridays at the Esquire Theater. Happens on the third Friday of the month. So thankful to be partnered with the Esquire to host a horror screening. And our screening for October is going to be Trick or Treat. So on October 18th at 10 p.m., come out to the Esquire and let's watch a movie together. Okay, let's talk all things Fantastic Fest. Fantastic Fest took place last week in Austin, Texas. I hope to make it out there sometime. But it went from September 19th to the 26th, and there were many great screenings on site that I wished I could be there to see, like Terrifier 3. I heard good things about VHS Beyond. There was a screening for The Birthday, which is a Corey Feldman movie that was thought to be lost, and it was able to get a release. This was a movie that was made 20 some years ago and got to come back out. Freddy Frico, which I have seen, and I will have a review for that at a later date. There are a couple that I'm looking forward to seeing that are coming out very soon, like Mr. Crockett. I will be having a review of that. That comes out October 11th. Little Bites, which comes out this Friday. Watch for an episode on that one coming soon. And there was some great stuff that played Fantastic Fest. As I said, I was thankful to have remote coverage for it. So I got to see some of the films, but not all of the films. So the films I got to watch are Heavier Trip, which I found out after the fact is a sequel to Heavy Trip. Raspati, Chainsaws Were Singing, The Severed Son, What Happened to Dorothy Bell, Parvulos, Wit Weavin' or Heresy, Strange Harvest, Occult Murder in the Inland Empire, Ghost Killer, and The Spirit of Halloween. Those are the ones I did watch. There were a couple others that I want to see or I will be watching at a later date. One, Daddy's Head, which is a Shudder original. Animal, that is one that hopefully I'll get to watch for Screamfest, which that is coming up in another week on October 8th. I will be covering that for remote coverage as well. And there's one called She Loved Blossoms More that looked really, really interesting. I would love to see it. I'm trying to find a way to see that film, but looking forward to checking that one out. So let's start talking some of the films that I got to see. First, we'll talk Heavier Trip. Heavier Trip, I found out after I had watched this, was a sequel to a film called Heavy Trip, which I have watched since. Heavy Trip is playing on Tubi, so I recommend checking that one out. It is a hilarious film. Heavier Trip, you have this black metal band who is in prison in Norway, and they need to find a way out to get to a gig so they can get the money to save one of their bandmates' parents' farm, which they use, they're all friends, they use for a rehearsal space and other said things like that. But this one was so funny. There were many great musical moments one of the guys is a huge fan of Dave Mustaine, and I was hoping he would have a cameo in it. Unfortunately, he doesn't. But some of the scenes with him are so good. If you've seen you watch the trailer for this, Baby Metal is in it. I love Baby Metal, and they make a short appearance in the film, and the scenes that they're in it are pretty good. Each of these bandmates in this band, they all have their own little quirks, their own little nuances. Like one of them, he's like full into it, painted face, spiked shoulders, like full into it. You have the lead singer who kind of gets stage fright, but they want to be big. The drummer has anger issues and kind of gets possessed and rages. And then you have the guitarist who's a Dave Mustaine fan who is just quirky, silly, weird. Overall, this movie was an absolute blast. You had this road trip, this goofy road trip with all different things happening to them along the way that are just so funny. And it is a highly recommended watch from me. Go check out Heavy Trip on Tubi, and then watch for Heavier Trip coming soon. I don't know when it'll be out. I think November is its possible release date, but watch for Heavier Trip coming. So next on my watch was Respati. Now, this is a movie about a teenager whose parents tragically passed away, and he can now see into other people's dreams and witness things happening to other people. So, like, he sees a person in his dreams, and then the next morning he's watching the news and he finds out something tragic happened to that person. He's trying to figure out what is going on and gets his friends involved, and it kind of turns into, think kind of Dream Warriors. He's got to go into the dream space to defeat this evil entity that's in it because something happened to this woman tragically many years ago, and now she's kind of seeking revenge, and it's all in a dream, all in the dream world. I thought the dream world was really cool. There's this tree that has kind of people stuck in it, and it's some creepy imagery that really reminds me of something like Guillermo del Toro, Pan's Labyrinth kind of stuff. Not quite as far as, you don't have the creatures like, the eyeball in the hands and stuff like that, but you have this big tree, this darkness, and the way it connects to people was just really good. I love the style of this film. I really had a good time watching this one and would highly recommend checking out Respati. So next on my list is probably my favorite film that I watched as part of Fantastic Fest, and that is Chainsaws Were Singing. This is an Estonian film that's basically say early Peter Jackson, like Bad Taste, Meet the Feebles, his really wild early stuff. Throw in some of that over-the-top, goofy Monty Python humor, and make yourself a Texas Chainsaw Massacre film with the crazy family, the chainsaw killer. This movie was so much fun. I loved it. It was my favorite. It is about these two people. One of the characters, her parents died, her dogs died, she lost her job. Things are just not going her way at all. And she comes across another man who he's down on his luck too. He's going to commit suicide, and their paths kind of cross, and they kind of instantly fall for each other. But then you have this chainsaw killer in the middle of things. He kidnaps her, and now it's this big trip of I have to go save her, and he picks up someone else along the way. That is hilarious. There is so many things in this movie that are so much fun. It's just silly, goofy weirdness, and probably the most fun I've had watching a movie in a while. There's musical numbers in between. There's just dumb jokes. I can't recommend Chainsaws Were Singing more because it was so much fun. It won the Horror Features Award for Best Picture. Watch for Chainsaws Were Singing. I can't recommend this movie enough. Next up was probably the one film that kind of missed out of everything I watched, and that is The Severed Son. This is about a woman in this kind of isolated rural church community, and there's a murder, which sets off a bunch of paranoia towards her and this darkness kind of settling into the community and what, this fear and this beast coming to get them. I like the concept of it, but I felt like there were many times throughout it kind of missed the mark for me. When things were supposed to be tension set, it didn't feel too tense. The monster, I love the design of the monster. I thought the monster was really cool, and the story was fine, but overall, it just kind of missed the mark. It didn't quite grab me like I wanted it to. Unfortunately, I can't fully recommend it, but give it a light recommend of something you should check out because, it does have a lot of interesting elements in it. I did like the monster, but overall, it just kind of fell flat. There was another film that I watched that did kind of a similar kind of thing, and that was Wit Waven or Heresy, where they're in this small village during the Dark Ages, and this woman is struggling to bear a child. Some things happen, and the butcher of the town tries to rape her. She flees into the forest, the dark forest, but she comes back darker. Dark forces are upon us. It isn't the same exact setup as The Severed Son, but there are a lot of similarities between the two. And I thought this one, Heresy, kind of hit more. It had some beautiful cinematography. Let me just tell you that. And it just hooked me in. This one is definitely much shorter. It's only about an hour, a little over an hour. So it's quick. It gets to the point and moves on. I would recommend looking for this one because it was an enjoyable watch. It looked beautiful and was just a solid film. Next one I watched, What Happened to Dorothy Bell? This is a found footage style film that mixes in multiple different ways. So you get throwbacks, like when it's older scenes, it's like a camcorder, and there's a lot of it's from the point of view of the child. So at first, when it first started off, I thought we were going to get like a Skinamarink type of thing, and I hated Skinamarink. So I was like, I'm a little worried, but that's not what we got. So thank goodness. This is about Ozzy, who something happened to her with her grandmother when she was younger. She doesn't remember it. She's older now. So she's doing this kind of like a video blog thing to try to find out what happened to Dorothy Bell. So it's a mix of her vlogs, security footage, new footage of her filming, talking to people, and then you cut in this old camcorder video so you can kind of move back and see some of the things that kind of happened in the past. This film starts out a little slow, but as she finds out more and more of the story of Dorothy Bell, it kind of twists and gets darker and darker. You just kind of spiral through this darkness that is really good. And it leads up to this ending that I found very well done. And by the end, you're like, this is kind of what needed to happen. And I enjoyed how it ended, enjoyed the path that it took throughout. There are some definite dark scenes to this, but this one is a definite recommend for me. Watch for what happened to Dorothy Bell. Next up, Parvulos. This is a coming of age story set during the end of times zombie apocalypse time of the world. You have three brothers who live in this house together during the end of times. They keep their parents, who are zombies, in the basement. This is their story of just survival and family and trying to figure out how to kind of go through this world. It's a very interesting style because the colors in this movie are very muted. It's almost black and white, but not quite. And then you get pops of like reds and shades of red throughout the film. It ended up taking a dark twist and a very almost dark ending that I didn't expect it to go where it went. But the relationship between these three brothers and how they are working their way through this to just be, not only just be human, but to be brothers, to find time with each other, to just try to be a family still with all this going on. It was just a very, very well done film. It is very good. I wasn't expecting where it went. Watch for Parvulos. It is highly recommended. It is just a well done, well crafted film. Next up, we have Strange Harvest, Occult Murder in the Inland Empire. So this is a faux true crime documentary. I wasn't sure what I was going to think about this one when going in, but man, this was really good. It felt like you were watching an actual true crime documentary about this killer, Mr. Shiny, who has been doing this for, doing these murders for decades. You have these detectives that have been working this case, trying to figure out who this person is. And I mean, it starts in the 90s and then there's a gap and then it's back. This one really hooked me in. It felt very informational, like, oh my gosh, who is this? Who's this Mr. Shiny? Who's this killer? I want to look up what this is. Like, I really wanted it to be an actual thing to research more of. It was so well done. It was so good. And if you're a true crime fan, highly recommend checking it out. If you're not, I still recommend it because it was very well done and just a very good film with a little bit of a twist at the end, which I'm not going to give away. But watch for Strange Harvest, Occult Murder in the Inland Empire, The Spirit of Halloween Town. This is a documentary about an Oregon town that celebrates the Disney film Halloween Town every year. It started out as a small thing with only like a handful of people that came, and it has slowly kind of built its way up into this big event every year. And you follow a few of the people along the way of kind of how this event affects them. Some of them are how they go through setting up this event. There are some other ones that are the way it's put in was weird. There's kind of a ghost hunter guy that, for me, the way this documentary went kind of threw it off kilter. That side person I didn't feel like needed to be. I wanted more of you got some of this film that was filmed here in this Oregon town, the celebration they have, but I kind of wanted more history behind it. And I wanted, like, one of the things I want to know, like, does Disney back this at all? Have you tried to contact Disney to kind of make this a big thing? But I don't know. I don't know if that's possible or if they were allowed to. I wanted more of what goes into this festival, more so than following a couple people that there were some things that didn't totally pertain to the Halloween Town. So overall, it was kind of a 50-50. Half of it was really good, and then part of it was just like, I don't totally see how this fits or what direction this goes. So it was kind of a middle of the road. Let's just say that. So Spirit of Halloween Town, middle of the road. It is a light recommended watch. One more film the final film I watched for Fantastic Fest. I don't remember if I mentioned it at the beginning or not, but it was called Ghost Killer. Now, this is a movie about a hitman who dies, and then later on, this college student finds this bullet casing from where he was murdered, and he comes back as a ghost, and only she can see him, but he can, if they touch hands, he can take over her body, and then she can kick ass, basically. Like, he takes over the body and does his badass hitman stuff that he can do. This film is very kind of quirky and funny, but then it has some great action scenes in it. It's not a film that's going to completely blow you away, but it is a very enjoyable film. There are some scenes where she's just like, no, I'm going to take care of these people myself, because she's trying to find out what happened to him, to find the people that did this to him so he can kind of get revenge on these people. It's funny how the interactions go, because some people don't obviously believe that she is being possessed by this man, but then he possesses her, and there are things that only he knows, but then he can kick ass, and it is a very enjoyable film. Ghost Killer, like I said, it's not going to blow you away, but it was just a fun watch. Well, there you go. There are my watches I got to watch for Fantastic Fest. I absolutely loved my time watching a lot of these films. There are many of these films that I wished I could have seen that are on a list now that I'm going to look for at a later date, or I will have reviews for them coming later. Like I said, Frankie Frico, I will have a review of that coming. Mr. Crockett, the Hulu film, I will have. There were a couple that I wanted to see that I didn't get a chance to. Bone Lake was one, Body Odyssey, The Birthday, Binary, Annie Mall, I said that at the beginning, and a Tubi original that I didn't get the chance to see called Don't Mess with Grandma. I think it comes out in November, so I'll be checking that out on Tubi when it comes out. But just make sure you subscribe to the show, and you will never miss any of these chapters, these other reviews that are coming out. I can't wait to bring you even more my list for Screamfest, which starts October 8th. I can't wait to watch even more films. I'm having so much fun doing this. And I can't wait for Fantastic Fest next year. Maybe I can make it there. If not, hopefully they allow me the chance to do this again. But I'll be back soon with a brand new chapter. Just snuggle up in that blanket, turn off the lights, because it's okay to be scared. We'll talk to you later, everybody.